Kyle Cordiana here with Bass Fishing Declassified. Today's video, I'm going to talk to you about throwing a jerkbait in the fall. It is one of my favorite ways to catch fish all year long, and no doubt in the fall when they're in the transition, this fish they get suspended, a jerkbait on into the winter is one of the best ways to catch fish. And so I get really excited when I get out of the deer woods and do a little bass fishing. I'm always going to have a jerkbait tied on. I have several jerkbaits I love to use, but one of my go-to jerkbaits that just recently came back is a Smithwick Pro Rogue. For years, everybody threw the Pro Rogue, the Perfect 10. Now both of those are available again at lurenet.com. They've got some awesome paint schematics, but this is a Smithwick Pro Rogue. Got to get him out of my bait sack. This color here is called Thumper. They've got a few different ones, but this one most recently, I've been throwing this a lot. I was even catching 2 at a time on it on Lake Champlain and the St. Lawrence River. They've been eating this thing. Well, I love it too. But my setup on this Smithwick Pro Rogue, 10-pound Seaguar Invis-X fluorocarbon. That's pretty much my go-to standard. Sometimes I'll get a little heavier in the line setup. Never really lighter, but 10-pound. If I'm going to be around brush or bigger fish, watercolor's not so clear, I might step it up to 12 or even 15. If I want to eliminate depth, heavier line's going to make it run shallower. This 10-foot line keeps it down there in that 6 to 10-foot range, which is what I really like to cover. This is a 7-foot medium action Kistler helium. This combo, holy crap, with the Series 1 reel, I really love this. The rod is really, you're not gonna be able to see it, but the rod really has a lot of good bend to it. This is a horrible demonstration. Just trust me, the 7-foot medium action helium from Kistler is the best setup for a jerkbait rod for the way I like to work them. In the fall, again, these fish are suspended. You can catch fish on main lake points. You can catch fish around docks, windbreaks, all kinds of things. Anywhere you got bait in the back of the pockets, right in the middle, they might come up schooling. Throw your Smithwick Rogue out there, just twitch it right through them. Twitch it alongside any of that structure we talked about. It's a great way to cover water and catch fish suspended in the fall, and it's going to help you catch a lot more fish. Again, you can get these Smithwick Rogues over at lurenet.com. Don't forget, you can save 15% on them, get them cheaper there than anywhere else using my code, Cordiana15, and they give me a little kickback too. So I appreciate you guys. Hope it helps you catch more fish. If you guys are interested in these bait sacks, used to be Calcode Fishing, now it's TackleWorks. You can get over to tackleworks.com. That's TackleWorks, W-O-R-K-Z. TackleWorks.com. They got them in small. This is the medium size. Works perfect for a jerkbait. The small is good for like your crankbaits, and they have a great big one for huge glide baits and Alabama rigs. The thing is fantastic. They got the clear, and they've also got a blackout if you want to hide your baits from other anglers. But give them a check out. It's a small company. The guy is now in Texas, not California, so it ain't Cal Coast. TackleWorks.com.
We've got fall rolling in with our falling water temperatures. That means we are in prime jerkbait season. This is one of the absolute best times to throw a jerkbait because you start to have a lot of those forage species that start to die off based on the falling water temperatures. When that happens, you end up getting a lot of bass out there that are looking for easy meals on those dying shad and bait fish. And that's where the jerkbait comes in to really shine. You know, I think over the years we've proven that the jerkbait's one of the best cold water baits that's out there, but there's a few reasons for this. First and foremost, you can get the bait down to where those fish are at these days. You know, with a lot of different jerkbaits out there, you can get a deep diving model like this Berkley Stunna 112+1. You can get it down 8-10 foot, you know, especially if you're using light line, you can definitely get it down to the region where those fish are at. But then you can also suspend it. You can leave it sit there right in front of those fish's faces, and it becomes a really hard target for those fish to ignore. So from those two standpoints, it becomes a really good bait to fish during cold water, which is when the bass are going to be at a lower metabolism rate, and therefore they're going to be more lethargic. So the longer you can keep a bait in front of those fish, the longer and the better chance you have at getting those fish to bite. Now, I got to tell you, just because you're throwing a jerkbait during the fall period does not mean that you're going to catch fish. But if you look for the right areas, you probably can increase the number of bites that you're going to get. The first thing is look for your break lines. Generally speaking, the fish during the fall period are going to be using break lines as transition routes to move from summer to wintering locations. So the break lines are going to be great. Break lines on the edge of your flats, break lines around points, maybe around humps. Generally, the break lines are going to be where a good portion of the fish are going to be. Then you've got your points and saddles as well. Those are going to be two more primary places to look anytime you're fishing in falling water temperatures. And if you can identify some cover within those areas, maybe a brush pile, maybe a piece of standing timber, maybe it's a submerged rock pile, something along those lines. Any place where the fish might congregate are going to become your high percentage areas, and those are really good places to let your jerkbait just suspend in that area, because the longer you let it suspend, the greater the chances one of those fish is going to finally commit to your bait. Now, I will tell you, when it comes to fishing jerkbaits, I do it a little differently. I fish it on really light gear. I throw it on a spinning rod and a spinning reel. I generally like to fish it on 6 or 8 pound 100% Berkeley fluorocarbon. That allows me to get the bait down to a deeper level, which allows me to keep it in front of those fish for a little bit longer. Plus, the light line allows me to make really long casts. Now, I like throwing it on spinning gear like this Abu Garcia Revo SX and a custom built rod here, because I can throw it further on spinning gear. I can throw it better when it's windy out, and I find it to be a lot less painful to throw throughout the day, meaning it's easier on my body to work a jerkbait all day long. And I feel like when I'm fishing on 6 and 8 pound test, I'm really not looking at horsing these fish in. These baits come with such sharp hooks that all you got to do is make contact with the fish and apply pressure with your rod, and you'll eventually tire them out and get them to the boat. So I personally like to throw spinning gear with really light line. I do think that that's one of the best ways to present a jerkbait in the best manner. And I feel like, guys, if you're not throwing a jerkbait during the fall period, you're probably missing out on a few fish. It is one of the most consistent baits to throw regardless of weather conditions. You could be in post-front conditions, you could be in pre-front conditions, cold front, bluebird sky days. You can pretty much make a jerkbait work almost everywhere, assuming you are fishing the areas that the fish are holding in. So hopefully you got a few of these. If you don't, go out, get yourself a couple and put them to work this fall.
Content in this video and want more personalized instruction, head to our website, fishthemoment.com. Then go to the virtual lessons page. Here you can book one-on-one virtual lessons with each member of the Fish the Moment team. In these 1-hour lessons, the Fish the Moment team member will break down your lake using Google Earth and a contour line map and answer any questions you have. Whether you're preparing for an upcoming fishing tournament or a fun weekend on the lake, make sure you sign up for one of these one-on-one virtual lessons so you're fully prepared to catch as many fish as possible on the water. Check them out at Fish the Moment.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of Bass Fishing Declassified, and really appreciate you guys joining us for today's video. Going to be talking about fall jerkbait fishing, guys. Going to give you some tips and advice on how I like to fish them during the fall time of the year, and it's going to add up to some really good action probably from now until the first part of December. So anyway, guys, let's get into this. One of the first things I want to say about fishing fall, any type of fishing in the fall time of the year, is that the fish are more educated. They're more wary and they're more finicky because they've been fished for all year long. It's like ever since the water warmed up in spring, there's been a lot of people fishing for fish, and by the time we get into like October, November, the fish are very wary of anglers and baits and sounds. So one of the first things I do in my jerkbait fishing is I move to the silent model. This is the Megabass Vision 110, Silent 110, and it has the balancer system is a thick solid in there to make it where it's quiet. And the only thing that's different from a traditional 110 is the balancer systems add quite a bit of noise to the lure. Now in the fall time of the year, since the fish are more wary and finicky and just less hesitant to bite, I get a lot more bites by going to the silent model than the noisy model, because the noisy model, it might get their attention, but when you get up close to it, a lot of times they'll shy away from it if they're educated, and they won't on the silent model. On the silent model, it's a little bit more stealthy, it doesn't telegraph itself, and they really bite it really good. The next thing to remember, guys, is the structure to fish in the fall. It's a little bit different. I fish nothing but hard structures in the fall time of the year. What I mean by that is like boat dock edges, sea walls, break walls, bridge pilings, any type of hard structure that has some deeper water on it. And probably my favorite is if you guys have a marina dock in your lake. Most lakes, most every lake has a marina dock. Marina docks are a good example of a prime fall jerkbait structure because it's over deeper water a lot of times. They hold lots of fish. And what I like to do is I like to get up and just parallel those things and fish the jerkbait right as close as you can along the edge of those docks using a fairly fast stop and go retrieve. Like boom, boom, pause, boom, boom, pause. Don't pause it very long, but just keep it moving pretty hard. But the key, guys, is when you're fishing a jerkbait in the fall around docks or wave breaks or anything like that, you've got to get this bait real close to the dock. Let's say, for example, this is the dock edge. If you get this far away from the dock, you're not going to catch one. They're not going to dart from that far from the shade of that dock to get it. So try to get that bait as close as you can to the edge of that dock, and that's what's going to pull those fish out of there. But anyway, guys, get you a silent model, fish some hard structures, fairly fast stop and go retrieve. It's a super fun way to catch them, and it works for me really good up until the water temperature starts to fall to about that 50-degree range. So hope it helps out. We'll see y'all later.